Dear friends, a warm welcome. As I mentioned to you in writing, in one of the messages, I am presenting you with a special video for my planned new channel, Heinz, liest, in which I read from my books, and not just parts, but the entire book in order. Part 1. Up to a certain point, until you have the book in your possession, which you can use as an audiobook or in other ways. Now, the enthusiasm has been somewhat limited so far. With 86,000 and change followers, 350 is not really enough. So I want to be honest and say, if I can't convince at least 23% of my followers that it's worth it, for example, when I read from my historical novel, Unternehmen, Nikolaus, then it's not worth it for me to invest the time either, because I don't get anything for it. It's a big misconception to believe that you can get rich with YouTube. Maybe 1% do. And some of these are people who sit at slot machines as professional gamblers and, for $5,000 per game every 2 seconds, have 1 million followers. Of course, I can't keep up with that, but I also want to do something good for you, and that's why I decided to start a channel. There it is, chosen, the one who feels.
Yeah.
So now I'll wait a bit longer to see if the numbers improve, and then I'll get started in May. And specifically with the historical novel Unternehmen's Nikolaus, which, significantly, on the 6th December 1944 begins. I'll read the dust jacket flap. On December 6, 1944, a German paratrooper unit under Captain Heinz took 25 Anglo-American prisoner-of-war officers from the Luftwaffe prisoner-of-war camp 3 in Saga, Lower Silesia, to transfer them to another camp. The journey through war-torn Germany from Leipzig via Erfurt to Frankfurt, Wiesbaden, and so on. It turns into an odyssey that first ends at a manor in the Taunus, and shortly afterward at the West Evaluation Center, the Luftwaffe Interrogation Center in Oberursel, near Frankfurt. But neither the POWs, meaning the prisoners of war, nor the Germans have any explanation for the sudden transfer of these 25. Only through a chance conversation with 2 Gestapo chiefs, General Steiner, who is responsible, learns the real reason, which is life-threatening for the prisoners. In the meantime, however, a relationship of trust has developed between them and the paratroopers. Of course, the paratroopers are now trying to protect the Allied officers entrusted to them in any way they can. Then, suddenly and to everyone's surprise, a colonel from the OKW arrives and takes command. At the same time, of course, the Gestapo's net is tightening more and more around the 25 prisoners. But when the danger becomes greater and greater for both the prisoners of war and the German paratroopers, they join forces with the colonel from the OKW to forge a daring, reckless plan. They make a plan. They make a plan with the colonel. So that's the content of the book in a few words. 450, 430 pages. I worked on it for a very long time. For me, what's interesting is that much of what is told in the book takes place in locations that actually existed. So, for example, if today I talk about Bibricher Allee in Wiesbaden, but back then, or in the book, I have a sergeant drive down Hindenburg Allee, that's just the old name, which was changed in 45 or 46 or whenever. But to be honest, I also want to say that with 86,000 and some odd followers, I won't read unless I can convince at least 2% of my followers that it's actually worth listening to the episodes, to then have an audiobook that didn't cost anything. But of course, I also don't want to impose myself. If there's no interest in it, then first of all, I'd like to thank my hardcore followers who immediately said, "Sure, we're in."
Wir,
We'll subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything, and we'll wait to see what happens. But with 86,000 followers, at least 2% should be interested. If not, then it was just an idea to give something back to you for your loyalty to my channel. And then maybe I'll come up with something else on another occasion. Of course, the other stories will continue as usual regardless. That I present to you Zeitgeschichte in Bild und Ton. Now, let's wait and see how things go. I wish you a good weekend and all the best. And Hara the Digger. On that note,